Shalom, brothers and sisters. Hope you all are doing well. And I hope you all are doing well out there on Blog Talk. We're live here on YouTube. All praises be the Most High, Ahaya, Bahashim Yeshaya, Rawchaa. How are you all doing this evening? We hope well. Make sure all the brothers and sisters can see us here. Yeah? Okay, they got us. Yeah, that's fine. You know what? I'm gonna go on like this going forward. You wouldn't believe what we went through to actually come before you this evening. But we praise the Most High. We thank Him for another opportunity to come before you. Hold tight here. All right, I'm Elder Rawchaa here on this nippy December, so-called December day, here live with Elder Lawya, going into a serious topic and discussion today. Okay, our topic today, and of course you can all call in if you would like. Okay, our topic of discussion today: the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Okay, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. It seems as if there's a concerted effort in place to keep the masses, the population, busy, distracted, and disorganized. Now, this concerted effort is right before the American civilian population, and we all know the world is prepped for what's about to come already. These third world countries are already prepped to be toppled, but America in specific, it's before the American civilian population is engaged by a united foreign military who are currently preparing on U.S. soil. Okay? Well, everyone is distracted with these propagandized entertainment lines and everything that's going on in the media today, with whether it be Kanye West or Kevin Hart or whatever the case is. Right. Brothers and sisters, there's a foreign military currently preparing on American soil. I'm going to talk to you about this in a moment. But that's just the battle on the physical level. Of course, this particular broadcast is titled The Moral and Spiritual Fall of Babylon. That's on the physical level of foreign troops looking to engage the American population. Now, this engagement could not be possible if the population or the people within America, if they weren't already spiritually broken, making us or making them too weak to defend themselves in the wake of a disaster. Now, of course, the Bible has prophesied such a time. Let's now examine the current American political landscape that will lead to this eventual clash between the powers that be, the governments that be, and all the people. The questions we want to put out there for our brothers and sisters this evening is, what are we doing in preparation? Or, first of all, we're going to talk about what they're planning against us, and we're going to show you government documentation. That's on one hand. On the other hand, what can we do to preserve our families alive through the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon? Hence, the topic this evening, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. I want to make something clear for brothers and sisters today. Okay? The Bible. If we deal with this book according to its proper purpose, okay, according to its proper purpose, it actually gives the guideline and direction out of the perils to come. Not to say that we will not experience trouble. Trouble is coming. We will experience trouble. But all in all, there is a guide out of trouble long term. Okay? We're going to go into the Bible with this, but I want to also say, and I've been examining things. I've been examining all the levels, Lawya, that we are divided on. All the levels that we are divided on. And I've come to the conclusion in understanding the Bible, we're going to go there in a moment, that these calculated divisive tactics which are in place, brothers and sisters, are, believe it or not, it's a military operation to keep us from our purpose, our direction, and above all, to keep us from preparing for what's about to happen. These divisive things that are put out in the news or online and all these things, it's a military operation, a psychological operation to keep the population, to keep the people distracted until engagement. It's on every level. The moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Now let's talk about it real quick, right? Let's examine this from a military standpoint. If you have a population that's too strong to be engaged, what must you do? Okay, if you try to face these people head on, eventually all people will rally together for what? For the sake of preservation and defend themselves alive against what? An outward threat. Okay, so from a military angle, one must look at how to do what? Weaken the population that's too strong for us to physically engage. How can we weaken them? Okay, these things will be discussed, and we're going to show you according to real-time news, folks, that we have here, that they're even giving us a timeline. They've given us a timeline as well as how long they're going to do certain things against us. The period of times in which we will be without resources in order for them to weaken us for engagement. But first they had to do what? They had to divide the population and have us argued on every side. Okay? The first line of the defense of any household is what? Let's start with having a household. The first line of defense or to tear down would be what? The focus on tearing down would be what? Family. Family is what? The prime focus for attack. Because why? Everyone in that house has a purpose. And with that purpose, it's to defend the family and their existence and legacy alive. Right? Now, you move the man out of the house. You've taken down what? The physical defense for the family. Now that house is what? More readily to be engaged by what? An outside intrusion. Then you take the men within the house and feminize them so that the young men who are strong enough to physically fight are psychologically weak against what? An outside intrusion. Now that's just on a physical military level. Hence, We're going to break this down. The moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. You know what we found while going into this, brothers and sisters? What's going on in America right now is almost on every degree, brothers and sisters, it's almost a complete mirror of history. A complete mirror of history of how Jerusalem, when we were a people, when Jerusalem was engaged by the Romans, it's almost a carbon copy on every level. Politically, the false flags, everything that's going on within America right now happened again. It happened, before, under the Roman Empire. Almost exact to the letter. Different political figures, but same end game. Same end game. What do I have before you, brothers and sisters? I'm going to show you. I had some things that I wanted to show strictly through video, as far as not having video, but having some web pages to go over for you all. I didn't have enough time to print things out because I didn't want to waste any more time before actually going live with you. Okay, so that we can actually break down the urgency of what's going on in the earth right now and have our people prepare for this. Now, I'm going to tell you this, brothers and sisters, right? This teaching and the work that the Most High have entrusted in us to do in this earth, keep in mind, we're not here to talk about saving America. Okay? It's finished. It's gone. And if we're not too careful, you'll die trying to save it. If you're not too careful, you'll get caught in it and drown in it. America cannot be saved. If that was so, the Bible wouldn't be true. The Bible wouldn't be true. The Bible prophesied the fall of this country. It so happened we live in it. So we have to understand where we are prophetically and prepare accordingly. So we're going to break this down and mirror this to what happened to our people historically in 70 AD. Elder Rawchaa sent me some news articles that I was going to show you, but I'll actually read them for you. Right? Now, these particular news articles mimics the propaganda that happened right before we were destroyed by the Roman Empire. Now, you've heard our teachings before, but I'm going to break something down for you. And it can't be reiterated enough. 7 years, about 7 years before we actually fell in Jerusalem, brothers and sisters, there was a false flag by a Roman emperor by the name of Nero. Okay, what Nero did. Now, this is 70 AD. This is, we talking about what? Around 66, 65, 66 BC, around the time of Nero. Now, what did he do? Nero, brothers and sisters, burned a few blocks of Rome and blamed it on the Jews. Now, we all know that those Jews in Jerusalem at that time were black people. Okay. Now, as a result of that, military presence was pushed through Roman legislation on Jerusalem. That means instead of us defending ourselves, because there was a threat of what they called terrorism within our homeland against the Roman Empire, they needed to now do what? Have a military force work within our communities. Now, of course, initially, they were helping the community. It was a positive angle as far as the Roman propaganda goes, right? They were helping us. They would be at the market, making sure no one steals or do certain things. It was good to have an extra police force in place around us. Well, that's what we thought. Okay. But really the plan was to overtake us, to watch how we come and go, to get reconnaissance on us, to understand how we operate, to engage us for a later date. That later date eventually happened under Vespasian and Titus. Okay? That they would actually destroy Jerusalem, fulfilling Bible prophecy, which would lead to a scattering of these same Black people in Jerusalem all over the earth to be enslaved by the Gentiles until a specific prophetic time. Okay? And at the end of that time, the same people would begin their awakening and understand that, hold up, we're not just Africans or Blacks. We're fulfilling a prophecy that was written according to the Bible. We are the children of God. And at that time, when we begin the awakening, they would plan the same military, brothers and sisters, plan that was placed on us in 70 AD. They would bring it back and resurface it for the final desolation of God's people. That's really the plan. That's really the prophetic understanding the Bible has been teaching for a long time, that pastors have been ignoring. So now they have put political so-called presidents in place instead of Caesars to bring forth these same agendas against us. Now, when we think about, and I'm going to let you come in if you want to say something before we go into the history and scriptures. Mm-hmm. And you're there. You're there also, Gaja, correct?
Good. I'm here.
Okay. Listen to me clearly, brothers and sisters. With the same plan, the plan is being made by the same people. These people are the Romans. They're the Romans who are behind this plot to destroy God's people. They're Romans. Now, we may call them Jewish or whatever the case is. We may call them Russians. But this effort is a unified effort to engage us within the borders of the United States. Okay, with the same plan that happened in 70 AD. Now, when you look at your so-called political landscape, and let's examine Barack Obama, who came right before so-called Donald Trump. Now, Barack Obama is being primed to operate as a key head official over the UN once America breaks. That's something they're working on behind the scenes. But all in all, think about what Barack Obama brought to the table. I wish I can show this. Pull that up so I can show them. Matter of fact, pull it up on your computer there. Type in Barack Obama, the first gay president. Now, mind you, I understand that presidents are ceremonial. Okay. They're ceremonial. They're just a face to be used for the people. But really the real control in legislation comes from the Zionists or the Romans, who actually finance and lobby to put these political figures in place. Now, I'm not saying anything about Barack Obama, quote unquote, being the first gay president. Newsweek made a they gave Barack Obama a front page spread. You have it? Yes, yeah. Now just get Newsweek, just the picture right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just pull it up. Yeah, there it is. There it is. I didn't say this. Look at this. Brothers and sisters, Newsweek said this. Newsweek, first gay president. Newsweek. Not saying whether or not he was gay, but through him, they would push a certain legislation that would give rights to homosexuals. Now, you might think on the surface, that's a good thing, but it's celebrating, feminizing the first line of defense, the men. Now, of course, they couldn't engage us before they weakened the children. This generation has been weakened through what? Through these LGBT movements, which is what? A military psyop against the population. Now that the population has been weakened and all the families are separated, man is fighting against the woman fighting against the man, none of the children can get along with the family, everyone is separated. No one has a reason to defend their legacy. That takes away your purpose and fortitude to fight off a what? An intruder. You have nothing to defend anymore. Family means nothing, so what are you fighting for? Marriage means nothing, so what are you defending? So through that psyop, they have weakened the population they will soon engage. And they used his 8 years for the so-called civil rights to weaken the foundation of any nation, the family. And that leads us now to who? Regardless of who they put in place, Trump. You have everyone everywhere with a problem with Donald Trump. Let me tell you, folks, the presidential seat is ceremonial. The agendas are in place well before they pick someone who will sign and push their legislations. Okay? When a president gets voted in, he's given a dossier, or what you call an itinerary, for the first year. His meetings, where he'll speak, his dinners, all that is already in his schedule. He don't make his schedule. So who's these people making his schedule? The real planners, folks. What's going on right now? Donald Trump, brothers and sisters, is focused strictly on what? Military, and doing what? Building a wall. That should be alarming for us. That should be very alarming for anyone that understands history. Because the last time a wall was built was 70 AD. When what? When Masada fell and our people was destroyed by the Romans, according to a prophecy given from the Old Testament, and also a New Testament prophecy that came through Jesus Christ, of whom the world called Jesus Christ himself. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lawya, in the book of Luke. We're tying in history to show you exactly where we are right now. Because what? Homeland Security. I'm going to read something off of the Homeland Security, brothers and sisters, webpage. What their plans are against American citizens. Or to stabilize a population or to stabilize a country after or during a serious disaster. Now, if you're reading the Bible, and also if you are one who have studied history, it's clear to understand the end game. That president, whatever the president, whether it be Barack Obama, Trump, or whatever, or whomever, you're able to see the end game in place by those who controls them. And understand at the end of it, regardless of what they say, the poor people, God's people, will suffer the most through it all. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lawya.
St. Luke chapter 21, verse 20.
See the comments there. Yes, just refresh it. We're there. Oh, I got it here. Don't worry about it. Come on.
St. Luke chapter 21, verse 20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
When you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Know that the desolation is near. Read.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
So Christ warned his people. Christ warned his people. At this time, the people in Jerusalem were all black, folks. Being ruled by what? The Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin was like the city council or the government over Jerusalem that had black and white mixed. You had some white, what you would call converts, Edomites, that were working in conjunction with our priesthood. Okay, as politicians or like a council over our community. But the engagement predominantly here is what? The Roman Empire, a foreign military against a black population. When I say predominantly a black population, it wasn't as if white people didn't get killed also. All people, all races of people get killed or killed during war. Let me make that clear. Okay. So we're not saying other races of people are not going to get caught up in this. They will. But the target population for destruction are the children of God, according to the Bible. We are their target population. Read it.
St. Luke chapter 21, verse 21.
Come on.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Flee to the mountains. Come on.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
All things that are written must be fulfilled. It must be fulfilled. I said earlier, brothers and sisters, that we're not bringing this forth as a message to all Americans to save America. Okay, it's not about that. America has fallen. It has fallen. There is no glory in her anymore. Can't you see? Is it evident? The whole thing is, how can we prepare through this? It will take a spiritual phenomenon. And I would say the greatest phenomenon is us waking up to this. Understanding that it doesn't matter who you are. None of us within America or within this earth will be able to think these perils to come away. No one will be able to ignore what's coming. Okay? And we're going to show you this evening how they're going to systematically do it. They told us how they're going to do it. When I say they told us, brothers and sisters, it's been in the news the whole time. But the majority of the population has been distracted through entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
They're slipping all the important stuff right up under you while you're looking at Kanye West, talking about Kevin Hart. Who cares about any of that? The real stuff is on the news right in front of you, and we're looking at the fluff, the talking points, the propaganda. The purpose propagandize military distractions against us. Go ahead, Elder Lawya.
St. Luke 21, verse 22. These be the days of vengeance.
These be the days of vengeance.
That all things which are written may be fulfilled.
That all things that what?
Which are written.
Which are written in the book.
May be fulfilled.
May be fulfilled. And guess what, brothers and sisters? I made up my mind. Well, before this, I've been speaking to the elders and been speaking to the brethren and one-on-one, and I'm like, listen, you know what? I'm not even in the space right now to actually go back and forth with any of our people or anyone else about anything.
That's right.
Okay? If you don't believe this book, and if you don't believe what's to come, and if you don't and if you don't fall in line with Christ, what's the argument about? What's the debate about? Okay? There's no debating or arguing a dead man or a dead woman. Christ is life. And in these times, the people that are under Christ cleave together with the like mind, because any division or derision can lead to peril. It happened once before in history, where we were divided and were destroyed because of it. Okay? It's about planning with those of like mind, folks. We're not going to fight each other to safety. We're not going to battle each other to safety. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. And I'm not even going back and forth anymore. We're going to drop what the Most High say and plan with those who are on one accord. And if you don't believe, okay, why should I get bent out of shape? You had people who didn't believe Christ. Okay? And they mocked Christ. And when Christ said, you know what, and guess what? Even though they hated him and didn't believe in him and all these things, he told all of Israel anyway, get ready to leave because the Romans are prophesied to fall on you. He still warned those he loved. And you had people, because they wanted to defy Christ, operated in a stubborn mindset and stayed put, believing the Romans were their friends. Okay? Believing they could trust the Roman government. Why? Because they had some political affiliations with the Romans and felt that at least if the Romans destroyed their people, that at least their jobs were safe. No, your job was only in place to watch and to coddle your constituents until the Romans engaged them. That means once they destroy the people, the political leaders will be useless also. The political leaders will be useless. You had people who defied Christ and took the side of the Romans, believing, well, the Romans going to keep me in my cushy position. Like, listen, if there's no people, what do I have need of you for? Matter of fact, you have political power and influence. We'll deal with you first for defying and becoming a traitor against your own people. If you betray your own people, how can we trust you? See? That's the Roman stance, and you know what? It's an understandable one. Go ahead, read it, Elder Lawya.
If I can mention on that point,
Yeah.
when we go into the history, we may not have an opportunity to touch it tonight, but every man and woman chose their delusions as to why they did not take heed to this prophecy that Christ brought forward.
Yes.
People listened to false prophets. People did all types of different things. The Most High is not going to destroy this place. This is the Holy Land. People chose their delusions and their reasons to stay behind. And because of it, we may have an opportunity to read the history of what happened to those who stayed behind.
Let's read some of the history of what happened to those who stayed behind. You know, because I'll tell you this, you have others who would like to attack us because the Most High said, flee.
Mm-hmm.
And he prophesied to flee. Don't get mad at me. Okay. I'm going to read what the Bible says. And a matter of fact, I'm going to do what the Bible says do. Okay. I'm going to do it. And if you don't believe it, you know, that's your walk. That's your walk. Okay. But don't try to attack the messenger. Let me make it clear. There's no such doctrine as a flee doctrine. There's no such thing. The Most High say go, you go. Okay. That's prophesied. And guess what? He's not speaking of a disorganized and fleeing either. He's speaking of an organized movement under Christ. We're going to go into that later, but Elder Lawya, let's go back to Luke, and then we're going to go through some history here.
Right. St. Luke chapter 21, verse 23.
Yes.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Why does it say woe to them who are with child? Or give suck? Imagine trying to travel, or imagine trying to get out of harm's way with an infant. And then suppose you have to go to one city to the next, or from one country to the next, whatever the case is. And you're having some type of disagreement with what you would call the baby mama or baby father, or whatever the case is. What happens then? You must stay still. See? So it says, woe to them that give suck in that day. And check this out. They're making it now. And if those soon, for those who don't get the real ID that's coming, you will not be able to travel even from one state to the next state without a passport. Now, that doesn't make any sense if you are an American citizen, right? They're already telling you that they're going to eradicate and disassemble America. If you're going to need a passport, that means the country have been broken up, okay, and divided from outside countries. One area of the country will be controlled by China, another will be controlled by Great Britain, and another will be controlled by Russia, the West Coast. So that's why you're going to need a passport. Because that territory, once America is disassembled, purposely, politically, will be under 3 separate jurisdictions. Now, that can't happen unless they first cause a disaster of what? Of catastrophic proportion. We're going to talk about it. First, they have to do what? They have to build a wall, cut off the outside, not the outside entry, but the exits that might happen while they're dealing inwardly against the American population. The wall isn't to keep Mexicans out. Mexicans out of the United States. It's to keep Americans within the borders, folks. That's what the wall is for. That's what it was for in history, throughout history. They don't care whether or not people come back and forth through the border. But when you build a wall, you're building a military garrison. That's military to keep the people in. You're saying about, well, yeah, let's keep those Mexicans out and arguing the what you would call immigration debate. When really this has nothing to do with immigration. This has everything to do with Bible prophecy. It's what the Romans did against Jerusalem in 70 AD. Do your research. Come on, Elder Lawya.
Verse 24, or the rest of verse 23. For there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people.
And wrath upon this people. What people? God's people. See, and they're speeding and ramping up their program. Why? Because the Spirit has awakened God's people. They understand that they're losing their control. They're losing their psychological control over the masses of people, specifically the slaves. Once we began to realize we were the people of the Bible, the children of Israel, at that time, the Most High began to break us free from our mental enslavement. And they have been keeping tabs on us, all of us. And understand that they are losing control. They're losing a grip on the people who made America great from its inception. No slaves, no America. Let's build a wall. We have Negroes, we have poor people talking about going someplace else. They must have faith trying to go somewhere else. If they're not dependent on us, they must be dependent on that God we've been keeping them from, that we've been shielding them from. Let's engage them. See? Come on.
Verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
They shall fall by the edge of the sword. Read.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
And shall be led away captive into all nations. And for you Christians who just come on to this page, yes, captivity, slavery was prophesied by Christ on a specific people. The people who fell in Jerusalem. We are those people. We are those people. We fled into different parts of Africa after the fall of Jerusalem, Masada, 70 AD. Go on.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
That means Gentiles will be living in our homeland until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which is the consummation, until the returning of our Lord and Savior, Christ. Yeshua. Go on.
Verse 25. And there shall be great signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
Now I need you to go real quick here, right? I want to show something real quick before you go to the next point, and then I'll relay it to you in case you have a few points. And of course, I have to make some announcements here in a moment. The Washington Examiner states, start prepping. Electric grid prime target of terrorists. Profound threat, says counsel. In a new report that warns that the electric grid is the prime target of terrorists. Anytime you hear the word terrorist, folks, understand it's telling you what the government is about to do against the civilian population. That's a code word, terrorist. There's no one with an outside threat trying to do anything to America. This is how they politically pass the buck while progressing their agenda against God's people. Okay, there is no terrorist trying to plan to to make an EMP and to cut off the electricity. That doesn't exist. Okay. But they understand that the majority of Americans are armed and they cannot engage the Americans. They have already weakened the people through the LBGT and all that. That was a concerted psyop to destroy family. That was the first leg of their psyop against us. The next leg is what? They must do what? Weaken the nation. Why? Because the nation is heavily armed. Okay? America is heavily armed. So what they must do what they did in Masada. Starve it out and then engage the population. Weaken them where they can't defend themselves, even if they had guns. See? The perfect plan for this is an EMP. Let's cut the electric grid from the population for a specific time where there's no running water, there's no food going in, there's no trucks happening. We need a state of an emergency, which would be a military reason for disarming the American population. Now, normally, if something was to happen like that, where you don't, the lights go out and now it's been days, it's been weeks, it's been months. Normally, the first reaction would be, if you're on the West Coast, to say, well, they got electric over there in Mexico. Mm-hmm. You in Arizona or Texas, you'd be like, well, I'll go to Mexico and live until this stuff, I'll wait this out until there's some electric back in America. But how are you going to be able to go into Mexico with the wall built? Think about it. So when you think about that wall, stop arguing their political talking points about whether or not Mexicans can come into America. The question you should have living in America is, well, if I need to leave America, how does this wall play into that? Right? Okay, it's keeping them out. So can it also work in reverse and keep me in? Okay. And this is what history tells us. A wall works both ways, right? Check this out. In a new report that warns that the electric grid, the prime target of terrorists, Americans are being urged to prepare for up to 6 months without electricity, transportation, fuel, money, and health care. People no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve individual preparedness, said a just published report to President Trump. So you know what I did?
Now listening to 1800 seconds.
One moment. One moment. That was a commercial. That was a commercial that popped in there. Was it on this here? This Examiner thing?
Yeah, it's on the side. Yes, on the side. They have those
advertisements. Yeah. Oh, an advertisement came in. But it says right here, people no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve individual preparedness, said a just published report to President Trump. So this is what I did, brothers and sisters. I'm like, well, hold up. Is this some type of conspiracy theory here? Right? Maybe this is a conspiracy theory, someone just putting this out there. So I did some research and realized that they extrapolated this information from where? Homeland Security's site. Now, the Crusader Journal says, Trump says military to build border wall if Democrats refuse. Now, we all know the Democrat-Republican argument is utterly ridiculous, that they're both either side of the same coin. So what is Trump saying here, or his handlers putting out here for him to parrot? Well, the military is about to build a wall. Now, keep in mind, brothers and sisters, the Pentagon is not being controlled within American borders. The Pentagon is being controlled through who? Through the Israeli military. And in conjunction with the Patriot Act and all those laws that were signed after 9/11, we're really dealing with an international military force. It's no longer the American Army anymore. The American Army is in conjunction with the One World Army. They're building a wall, folks. At the same time, planning to cut off the electricity within the borders of the United States and claim it happened through an outside terrorist attack. Now, we need you to imagine this happening now. The majority of homes, especially where we live, are being controlled by sisters with no family. Brothers don't have no vested interest in family anymore. So everyone is alone. No one is preparing or sitting with their families and talking preparation for what's about to come. We're going to show you in history what happened to our people who weren't prepared, right? The Crusader Journal, Trump says military to build border if the Democrats refuse. That's one. Then I went here, brothers and sisters, to the Homeland Security page. I wish I can show this. It's a DHS.gov. You can go there, and it says, you can Google this if you would like. U.S. Department of Homeland Security, strategy for protecting and preparing the homeland against threats of electromagnetic pulse and geomagnetic disturbances. It was published under Homeland Security, October 9th, 2018. So they're talking about an EMP. And guess what? When it happens, folks, if you can get online or find out what's going on through the news, the immediate storyline to this will be a terrorist have attacked America with an EMP. It's going to be another bogus story like the Bin Laden story. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the reason, or guess what? You're in the dark. Because why? Social media and the ability to communicate, okay, has been hell for the powers that be. The last thing they wanted people to do were to communicate on an international level and all understand together that we're not the enemy one amongst each other. Okay? The last thing they wanted us to do was to communicate and realize what's really going on in this earth. So us communicating has been really what you would call it have actually hurt their agendas against the population. Well, it have stunted some of what they would have liked to do. Right? So an EMP solves so many things. If they can cut off the electricity, now they have an excuse for you not being able to communicate. Okay? Think about it here. On top of that, food, water. Look at what just happened in Puerto Rico. They went about 4 or 5 months. Well, guess what? That was a beta test. Don't forget, Puerto Rico is considered a state within the Americas. Puerto Rico is an American state. So they use that as a beta test for what they're about to do within the United States. And I'm reading this from the Department of Homeland Security. I thought the Department of Homeland Security was set up because of bin Laden. In this particular, look this up yourself. This I didn't draft this document I'm reading here. This is not a conspiracy theory here, folks. And the key point is, what amazes me is the similarity I'm reading between this and what Christ was talking about in the Bible. How they're using these false flags like Nero used to eventually engage the population, because if there's no electricity, you have what? You have people looting, you have people stealing, you have people doing all these things. And as a pretext to keep order, Donald Trump, and you know he will, because he'll do whatever he's told, will send in the military within our communities to do what? To keep order. Same thing that happened in 70 AD with Vespasian and Titus. Before Vespasian and Titus, Nero began to send military into our homeland, Jerusalem, to keep the order. And I'm reading it right here. What happens when things go down? Families are separated. Your children are wherever. There's no cell phones. And none of us have had these discussions with our children. Well, if something happens and something goes down and I'm at work and you're here, where we'll meet. None of these discussions has happened. But they should happen. Okay. The United States is prepared, vision. The United States is prepared for extreme electromagnetic incidents and capable of quickly restoring critical infrastructure, supporting communities to fully recover. And in order for you to support your community, you must do what? You must first send military in to keep the order that came from the chaos. That came from the chaos, folks. In this thing, it goes step by step. Introduction, mandate and scope, background, strategy, implementation. Promote effectiveness, electromagnetic incident response, and recovery efforts. It's written the same time they're building a wall, they talking about cutting off the electricity in America. That's a military operation. Okay, we're having a problem with this in here. Oh, they got hostages. Okay, cut the electric off. So this is how they disarm America, folks. And usually, brothers and sisters, they tell you in advance what they're going to do. They put it out there in advance. The same way before the towers were hit, a year before then, the news started out of nowhere talking about bin Laden and the threat of a plane hitting somewhere. Right? Elder Rawchaa, you have anything to say? I know I'm going on and on and on, but if you have something to say, you can come on in. And also, Gaja, and you know what? I'm going to make an announcement in about 10 minutes. Come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to read something real quick.
Yeah.
Just a few scriptures. Going back to the point of destroying and separating the household and understanding the power of doing so. Keep in mind, we're dealing with the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. And both are just as important, okay? Now, going to the demoralization first of family. As we go to the book of St. Matthew, chapter 12, verse 25, it says, And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. So if you put the family one against another, then automatically you have a situation where when it's time for trouble, there will be no protection. from the father. Why? Because the father, the strong man, has been bound and eventually removed from the home. Okay? There is no there is no moral support, no spiritual support, no physical strength to combat anything that comes in from Satan and his army. And there's a reason for that. If we go to the book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 3, it says, "He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is though as he were not dead, for he have left behind one like unto himself." So the first point it states is that he that teacheth his son, meaning the father that teacheth his son, grieveth the enemy. So the enemy is grieved at the idea of a father passing down knowledge and understanding to the next generation, to a seed. Okay? So it says here, continuing on in verse number 5, "While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies."
Exactly.
And this is what the enemy is afraid of. He's afraid that if the father stays in the home and teaches the child, teaches the next generation that, listen, these people are our enemies. They have a plan against us. These are the same people who came against us in 70 AD. Before that, the same people who came against us under Antiochus Epiphanes. Before that, the same people who have continuously come against our people and try to demoralize us. If the father teaches the son the commandments, not to follow the ways of the earth, so on and so forth. Okay? He grieves the enemy. Now that son will readily stand against any operation, against any propaganda or anything that the enemy is sending to destroy the family. Okay? Just finishing up the scripture here. "He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. He that maketh too much of his own son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels shall be troubled at every cry." So that's going into something else, but that's the power, and the enemy understands the power that we have as fathers, that we have as men, when we're able to control and conduct our households in accordance with the Most High's commandments, understanding the prophecy in what's to come. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Elder Rawchaa. I know we have a lot to cover in a short time.
I'll bring Rawchaa in there real quick, but let me put out there real quick, if you'd like to call in and discuss the moral degradation and spiritual degradation and fall of Babylon, you can call in 515-605-9327, because we'll be amiss if we didn't discuss what to do in the wake of what they're planning. Okay, there's no saving Babylon. Babylon the Great has fallen. Okay, and we're going to show you how now, guess what? This system is done with the current, what you would call adult population. They're just trying to kill this population off. Their target are the children, folks. Their target is to suck the children into the perversions and wickedness and moral degradation of the world, because they're trying to prep these children to be the next slaves to the powers that be beyond this. And we're going to talk about that also, okay, if the Most High permits. But here it is, 515-605-9327, brothers and sisters, is the number, if you like to call in and chime in on this. But we're going to talk about preparation, because I'll tell you, the brother in Puerto Rico, if he can call in, he'll tell you what we put out there months in advance had his family survive through the disaster that happened in Puerto Rico. His parents were looking at him like, what are you doing listening to these guys? And what do you got all this stuff in your house for? And as far as food and all this, it ain't nothing going to happen. And you know what? It happened. And guess where his mother and father was? At his house. The whole neighborhood was at his house. And it was through that, a lot of them, I met them at the Passover. It was the real action put into place according to prophecy that had this family, which was once Catholics, believe in the Most High. Because it's one thing to say you believe in him and you go to church and do the everyday, what you would call the ceremonial weekly gatherings and all that. But it's another thing to see action put into place based on the word of God, based on the warnings and the preparation that was given to us by our Father. That's showing faith or the understanding of the unseen on the next level. So we'd be amiss if we didn't talk about preparation. Every time I speak to the brother in Puerto Rico, it goes back to these broadcasts. Because the majority of brothers and sisters out there don't think on a normal basis or a regular basis. Well, suppose these things were to happen. What would I do? It's the watchmen, it's the teachers, it's the servants of God's position to bring forth this information in preparation or for preparation. Okay. Now, before we go into the next point of this to show what happened to our people in Masada, let me announce, brothers and sisters, that December 23rd is our next Hebrew and Bible Academy, in which we're going to go into the creation of the universe. And of course, you know, in the midst of what we're teaching right now, we have Shaphat, who will come with real-time news based on what's happening prophetically from week to week, as well as we got the Hebrew 101, we have the Bible, and this is where we get our, what you would call theological food, our basis, our foundation on what? A school level, to be able to rightly divide the word of truth, understand the doctrine of the Bible, and be secure in your understanding of the Bible. We don't teach you to read the Bible according to what we think. We teach you to understand the Bible. Okay. We teach you to understand the Bible and have that Bible be your personal book, and view that Bible as not only a guideline for the future, but what? A historical reference to fill in the blanks of the past. Okay. You can stand with this Bible and understand it through this Hebrew and Bible Academy. And we ask you all to be a part of it. This goes a long way in helping us grow and prepare in this work. If you're interested in the Hebrew and Bible Academy, send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com, or go to historytimes.org. You can enroll there, or gatheringofchrist.org. You can enroll there. But hey, you want to be a part of it, because as we come close to the end, the real-time news is there. Things we can't even discuss on YouTube and certain things. A lot of people wonder why we can't put things up on certain broadcasts, because a lot of things that we say could be censored. A lot of things we bring forth in the academy, as far as the news is concerned, you're not even allowed to speak freely anymore. Okay. So even when we put out the news from the academy and give you snippets of what's going on there, we have to edit certain things, because why? YouTube isn't YouTube anymore, folks. Okay, they have censored where you can't say anything that would help us identify the enemy who oppose all that's right. So I'm saying this, come to the academy. You can get it there until the EMP. But anyway, go ahead.
You have announcements here?
Yeah, make those announcements real quick if you don't mind.
Absolutely. We are very excited to announce the formation of our new worldwide headquarters location for the Gathering of Christ Church in Philadelphia, PA. This is exciting times for us, and the Most High has put it on our spirit to help finish his work strong, and having a headquarters location will help direct us, or help us direct the flock more efficiently. We expect to open and be in operation by January 2019. If you would like to support the renovation work now underway at our new location, or if you would like to donate to support the ministry and the elders' travels to different areas, please send an email to gatheringas1, that's the number 1 at AOL.com, or visit us at gatheringofchrist.org and click the donation button at the top of our website page. We thank you all in advance for your helping support the work, and may the Most High bless you all for your efforts. As you just heard the elder mention, the upcoming academy, December 23rd. If you don't mind, brothers and sisters, we're just going to read a few quotes or testimonies from those who have actually been within the academy. The first one we have here is from Darrell, who says, the entire academy was fire. Never before have I gotten this type of understanding of the word. I have fun learning, relearning, as I watch for a second time, and then discussing with friends and family, as I help them understand the real word. Most of us come from the Christian church and have no idea what our manuscript scriptures and what God's word really says. Thank you for the increased understanding. Next, we have Sarah's daughter, who says, Shalom, elders, and the water for an amazing lesson. 15 academies later, and all this last lesson completely blew my socks off. Wow. Next, we have Wisdom Seeker, who says, I've incorporated the Hebrew and Bible Academy into my weekly studies as a part of my life. I'm so grateful for the depth of knowledge that you all share each week. The Water Elders. These are just a few of the many positive responses we have gotten from the last academy. And we encourage you all to enroll in the next academy, whether it be your first or 10th. Each one will offer insight to the scriptures on a level that has not been taught anywhere else. To enroll in the Hebrew and Bible Academy that starts Sunday, December 23rd, please go to historytimes.org or send us an email to gatheringas1, again, that's the number 1, at AOL.com. And we look forward for your participation. Also, we have the G.O.C.C 2019 Hebrew calendars coming soon. We've been working hard on the design and development of the G.O.C.C 2019 Hebrew calendars and look forward to sharing the new catalog with you all soon. We will be taking pre-orders of the G.O.C.C 2019 Hebrew calendar on our website starting December 21st, and we expect them to be ready for shipping to your homes by the mid to end of January. To pre-order your calendars, you can go to historytimes.org. Last but not least, for I Am Apparel, for those who might not know, I Am Apparel is a new clothing line created by Elder Gabar to meet our unique clothing style and is available to everyone. For years, we have had the vision to empower our people and nurture self-sufficiency as a body, a church, and a community. The I Am Apparel store is a continuation of that goal to facilitate self-reliance as a nation and creatively designed styles that are just for you. Join us in our endeavors to build and grow our nation. Please visit us at iamapparelstore.org. Yes, sir. The water. Also, last but not least, we still have the G.O.C.C network for those who are interested in supporting those particular businesses. You can always go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org. On there, we have the G.O.C.C network business directory that you can check out. Support the brothers and sisters who have provide or continue to provide services and products for you. That's it.
Okay. Before I bring Gaji in, I want to say this, brothers and sisters. Keep in mind that the church, we encourage within our congregations to make sure that just for emergency purposes, have at least 2 weeks to a month rations of food. Okay. Dry goods, canned goods, big bottles of water, things that are non-perishable goods, at least 2 weeks to a month, because within our church, we have it where if there's an emergency, we do not encourage our sisters and brothers to go out there in the street where everyone is running crazy at. Okay. And get yourself harmed. Okay. The way we encourage is you have your rations and things in your house, and the deacons will come to your house to make sure everyone is okay in the midst of any disaster. That's what we have within our church. You stay there. If electric go out or whatever, doesn't matter. The deacons will make it to your house, understanding where you are, to make sure you're okay. And if there's something happens where there's an emergency where your family don't have enough, we'll move that person into another house that have more than enough. See, but that's just from a church perspective. Brothers and sisters, when you go out there to shop, make sure you get what you're going to eat and grab a few extra things to put in your cupboard that's non-perishable. Like organic oodles and noodles and things of that nature, extra bottles of water. Whatever you buy, always buy 1 or 2 extra just to put away, just have enough and know that it's going to run out, but have enough not to go out in the midst of the chaos. And when things calm down, you're healthy, you're strong, your family has eaten, you can make a way. Start having conversations with your children. Okay? Having plans on what to do if you're separated in an emergency. That's the time we're in now. Real quick, Elder Lawya, I just want to real quick, before I bring Elder Rawchaa in real quick, and Elder Gabar, if he would like to come in. I would like you real quick to go into the Josephus and give some examples of what the Romans did to our people in 70 AD, how they were able to do it, and let's show the mindset of our people who didn't listen to Christ.
Says here in the book of Josephus, The Wars of the Jews, book 5, chapter 12.
Yes.
It says, Titus thought it fit to encompass the city round about with a wall, after which the famine consumed the people.
What consumed the people?
The famine consumed the people.
The famine consumed the people. What famine? They built a wall around Masada so that food and water couldn't come in. Now, how do you relate that to today? If they build a wall and EMT happens where there's no electricity, how many trucks are coming into your neighborhoods to fill up your supermarkets? That's the famine of 70 AD, folks, in real time. Read.
And now did Titus consult with his commanders what was to be done. Those that were of the warmest tempers, those he should bring the whole city against the whole army against the city and storm the wall. For that hitherto no more than a part of their army had fought with the Jews, but in that case the entire army was to come at once. They would not be able to sustain their attacks, but would be overwhelmed by their darts. But of those that were of more cautious management, some were for raising their banks again, and others advised to let the banks alone, but to still lie before the city, to guard against the coming out of the Jews and against their carrying provisions into the city, and so to leave the enemy to the famine, and this without direct fighting with them. So they didn't need to impose upon us initially with physical force.
Exactly. Why didn't they engage us back then with physical force? Because we were strong and prepared to fight. So it's like, listen, we know they have weapons, so this is what we'll do. We'll weaken them through a famine. Do not let food or water within their cities. We're not going to allow any resources in their cities. Now we're fighting against a weak population, a weak city. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to stop all commerce along with food and water coming into our neighborhoods. The reservoirs are going to be cut off because we have small reservoirs for cities. I mean, as far as these reservoirs, our water comes through a water system on purpose. They'll cut that off and say, well, okay. We'll allow them to kill each other off first, fighting over rations. And then the military engages. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, folks. The Most High have showed us history. He've given us history. If we don't know history, we're doomed to repeat it. Okay? Right now, the cities in America are prepped for the same massacre that happened in Masada, 70 AD. Go on, Elder Lawya.
I'm going to jump over to paragraph 3 to get straight to some of the key points. So all the hope of escaping was now cut off from the Jews.
All the hopes of escaping was cut off from the Israelites. This is how the Romans destroyed Black Jews in 70 AD. Come on.
Together with their liberty of going out of the city. Then did the famine widen its progress and devoured the people by whole houses and families. The upper rooms were full of women and children that were dying by famine.
Women and children were dying by famine. Now check that out. The majority of the households we have today are single parent households. Okay? It won't be you going to the job, having to work today. All that's done. It's going to be about survival. It's going to be about whether or not you can get something to eat today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's going to be that's what it's going to be. How am I going to feed this starving child? Okay? And don't think this can't happen, folks. You've seen what happened in Katrina. Okay? That was a beta test. And you heard what Kanye said during that time. He said they don't care about us. And you know what? He's absolutely correct. Because it was only one demographic of people who suffered the most through that disaster. All races live in Louisiana. No one suffered what the poor suffered. See? And it is the poor who's more so ill prepared to deal with these issues, these scenarios politically. Come on.
And the lanes of the city were full of the dead bodies of the aged. The children also and the young men wandered about the marketplaces like shadows, all swelled with the famine.
Come on.
And fell down dead wheresoever their misery seized them. As for burying them, those that were sick themselves were not able to do it. And those that were hardy and were well deterred from doing it by the great multitude of those dead bodies, and by the uncertainty there was how they should soon die themselves.
Now, I want you to check this out. There's more on this, and we're going to go back to Josephus in a moment. But this is the most disheartening point in all of this, brothers and sisters. In the midst of this disaster, one would have expected our people to rally together for self-preservation. The gangs and mobs within Masada, within Israel, were murdering and stealing from their own people while the Romans were on the outer skirts of the wall, waiting to kill us all in 70 AD. Look at this history, folks. It's in the Josephus. It's in the Josephus. When you hear someone say, let's build a wall, that's not Donald Trump, folks. That's the Romans, according to the Bible. He's just the president who's in place for that particular part of prophecy. Okay? If it was someone else, they would be saying build a wall. It doesn't matter who the person is. It's the agenda, which is coined or phrased in the Bible, Jacob's trouble. It's our last trouble as a people before deliverance. It's a sign. So when he said the wall, all of us should have understood what that meant for us historically. The last thing after reading this, the last thing we would want to see in this time is a wall. After reading what happened when they built a wall against us the first time, 70 AD. Elder Rawchaa, you there?
Hey, shalom, Elder man. I'm here, man.
Come on.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I mean, as you've been speaking, so many scriptures was popping to my head. I'm on this last one right now in Deuteronomy 28, verses 51. Let me start here. And it reads, and you shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee neither corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flock of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. Verse 52. This is the part this is the meat of it. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest. Throughout all thy land, he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, throughout all thy land, which the Most High thy power hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, and the flesh of thy sons, and thy daughters, which the Most High thy power hath given thee, in the seed and in the straightness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. Now, going back into Josephus, Josephus confirmed that this happened, that our people started to eat their own children.
Yes.
When you go into the book of the Kings, it happened then. So one might be thinking that, something, this can happen again, but it will come to pass again, based on the destruction that is coming aimed at our people. Babylon is going to fall, and it is going to fall with whoever is in it. You understand? And this will happen. It's not preventing people from coming out this wall. It's preventing from coming in. It's preventing us from going out. You understand? I mean, Elder, you've been saying it all evening, all night. This is the same thing that did back in Masada. 3.5 years. They surrounded the entire city. Nothing came in, nothing came out. And that's what they're looking to do again. They're looking to do it again. Check the history. Check the plan. You understand? Babylon, we have built every kingdom. From Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, the Perdo-Median Empire under Xerxes, the Greco Empire under Alexander the Great, and now to this modern day Roman Empire. We have built it. These people are not gonna let go of the one commodity that they have that has held up every empire. No, they're looking to keep it in. Same thing they did back in 70 AD. 70 AD, Jerusalem was under Roman occupation. Same thing, same script, nothing new under the sun. People, it's time. And with that said, I want to read one more scripture, Elder, then I'll yield. I'm gonna go to Christ in Matthew the 10th chapter, and let me start at about verses 7. Okay. So Christ commanded us to do this, and this is still our mission to this day. Okay, it says in verse 7, and as you go preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand, heal the sick. This is what we have to do. We have to heal the sick right now. Our people are sick. Cleanse the lepers. Okay, we have a new type of leprosy going around right now called bleaching. Okay, chemically imposed leprosy. Raise the dead is what we're doing right now. Giving the people back life, giving them truth. We'll be casting out devils. Freely have received, freely give. Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither 2 coats, neither shoes, nor yet starve. For the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatsoever city or town you shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till you go hence. Brothers and sisters, we've been traveling all over the earth right now. Praises be to the Most High. And when you come into a house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whosoever shall not receive you, now hear your word, when you depart out of that city or house, shake off the dust off your feet. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in that day of judgment than for that city. So what we're doing right now is a spiritual operation, and people need to understand that not everybody gonna receive this, not everybody gonna hear this. But when we shake off the dust and move, listen, it's gonna be better for Sodom and Gomorrah than that city. Verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be you therefore wise as serpent and harmless as doves. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the council, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And you shall be brought before governors and kings for my name's sake, for the testimony against them and the Gentiles. We're gonna come before kings and governors, presidents, because of this gospel. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak. For it shall be given you that same hour what you shall speak. For it is not you that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. So right now, this is where we're at right now. This is what we're doing. This is what we have to keep doing. And if anybody don't want to hear this, like you said earlier, Elder, the time for debating and arguing is done. What's the point in arguing with the dead? I yield.
Exactly. Hey, Gaja, what can you say? Gaja brings the fire, right? 515-605-9327. 515-605-9327. One moment. All right.
If you don't mind,
yeah.
When the opportunity presents itself, I have one more precept to add to what Elder Gaja was just bringing out concerning the prophecies.
Let's do it.
So we're coming to Christ in the book of St. Luke, chapter 19, verse 41. More prophecy concerning the destruction, not only in 70 AD, but the future destruction. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. In other words, if you knew what was in place for you in the future, you would weep just like Christ wept. You will be sorrowful. Why? For the day shall come upon thee that thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee and compass thee round and keep thee in on every side.
And keep thee in on every side. So it's not about what Trump is talking about, keeping the immigrants out. Mm-hmm. It's about keeping us in, folks. And a lot of people, I see everyone is looking at this wall and looking at the past information that Trump was foretold and all that. And they more so focusing on the publications or the predictive programming publications showing that Trump would be in this position, more so than examining what the Most High is saying concerning what this wall means for us. Mm-hmm. Because if it wasn't him, it would be someone else, folks. It's the Zionists controlling him. This is a Zionist Roman agenda against God's people.
That's right.
Go on.
Yes, sir. Last verse, verse 44. And shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children with thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation.
So these are they who's going to fall by the hands of the Romans, who didn't take heed to Christ's prophecies. And it's a shame, because you would have thought that Christians who believe in Christ would have read this and prepared accordingly. But the Christians aren't teaching this, that Christ's prophecies are literal concerning his people. See, and this is why the Romans hijacked Christianity and circumvented it so we couldn't read the Bible and follow Christ's words verbatim. He pointed them out. He pointed out the synagogues of Satan, those that would come in his name claiming that they're Christ and shall deceive many. He pointed them out. These are enemies working within to deceive our people. And we should be reading the Bible as what? In context to us as a people, literally. Not this religious Christian garbage. That's not what Christ established. We have 20 minutes before the lines are cut off on Blog Talk. I'm going to go down the line, but let's first 515-605-9327. And I want to talk about the moral side, how they're targeting our children now. They're killing off this generation, and they're focusing on perverting the children. We're talking about the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon, folks. There's a concerted effort in place to keep the masses busy, distracted, and disorganized before the American civilian population is actually engaged by a united foreign military who are currently preparing on American soil. But that's just on the physical level. There's an engagement that this engagement cannot be possible if the people within the land weren't spiritually broken first, making them too weak to defend themselves in the wake of a disaster. The Bible has prophesied such a time. Let's now examine the current American political landscape that will lead to this eventual clash between the powers that be under Satan and the people. What are they planning against us? And we're showing you an EMP that will cut the electric grid off within America for a specific time is on the horizon. And what we can do to preserve our families alive through the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Let's go down the phone. Let's go through the phone lines real quick, starting with 336 area code. Shalom, you're live on Blog Talk.
Shalom, Elder.
You're live on Blog Talk. Shalom.
Shalom, Elder. I had a question in regards to Babylon itself. Now, when it comes to like the Caribbean islands, as well as Australia areas such as that, would that be considered Babylon, or is Babylon just America and Canada?
Babylon in specific, the daughter of Babylon is America itself. Okay. The daughter of Babylon is America itself. Okay. But if you want to know what's going to happen to the islands, I can read that for you real quick.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Go to Revelation 16 and 19.
Revelation chapter 16, verse number 19.
Read.
And the great city was divided into three parts.
It's going to be divided into three parts with an earthquake. Read.
And the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came into remembrance before the Most High to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath.
Come on.
And every island fled away.
And every island fled away. So what's going to happen, sister, when these attacks happen with that cloud of nuclear weapons that are prophesied in 2nd Esdras, there's going to be a tsunami that's going to come and really destroy the islands through an earthquake. The islands are going to be blown away.
Okay. That was all the edification I needed. Thank you so much, Elder. Bless you.
You're welcome. I'll put you on hold. 787 area code. Next. And of course, our topic, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Shalom, you're live on the Gathering of Christ Church's broadcast. Okay, we're going to 518 next. For all of you out there, if you can, we only have a few more moments, but if you can, I see a lot of you have come in. Hit the like button. This way others will know that the Gathering of Christ Church is broadcasting from the New York platform on YouTube, since they are censoring our main page. Our main page has been blocked from live streaming for 3 months based on a broadcast that we put out there, warning people about there's others operating in the spirit of Jim Jones, trying to take people into remote areas, okay, to do whatever they're going to do to them. And we wanted to put it out there to, if y'all hear somebody talking about the feast of going out into an area, keep in mind they have nothing to do with our church. It's a satanic, evil, wicked imposition against our people that's being used as a diversion in the time of awakening. Okay, be careful with that. Okay, 518 area code.
Shalom, Elder. I have two questions. My first question is, what exactly do we need in our bug out bag? And my second question is, what are your thoughts on this government shutdown that I've been seeing on the news lately?
Yeah, all that coincides just with the government shut down, the EMP, the wall being built. This is what's really going on. As a matter of fact, what we're talking about now is really the most important news within America right now. Everything else in the earth within America pales in comparison, because if these things happen, and they will happen, all the things we're paying attention to is going to stop anyway, right? So you're asking, what can we do in the wake of this, in preparation? Okay, what should we have, right? A matter of fact, what area?
Like there's something on the website.
Excuse me?
On the church website, like, is there a list of things that we should put in the bug out bag?
Yeah, if you go into you go to our gatheredofchrist.org, okay, you go there and you'll definitely see we're going to have a corner there for preparation and things of that nature. We do have that on the page, yes. Okay. But yes, all right. And are you in an area where church is at this time, or?
Yes, I'm actually in a New York City congregation.
Okay, well, you okay. All you gotta do is give Elder Gabar. He'll show you what to do. You don't gotta worry about that. All right?
Okay, so
okay. All right. Shalom. All right, one moment here. Let me go to the next call. All right. 860 area code. Yes, please hit the like button so that more people can come in and get some insight on what we're discussing this evening, okay? 860 area code.
So what's that?
Shalom, you're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Man, shalom, Elvis, how are you?
I'm blessed by the best. How are you, young brother?
I'm a little overwhelmed, man. Like, I've been hearing about all this before you guys started talking about it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This is just crazy. Yeah, definitely. Everything that you're saying, I'm like, and you guys been talking about this even before this news came up. So I'm like, the whole being prepared and, you know, how everything ties into the whole biblical aspect of it. I'm like, it's a little overwhelming, you know.
Hey, brother, we're here. The question is, are you preparing? Are you gonna, are you with the church? Are you working with your brothers? Are you working with us to, for these times to come?
That's one of the things why I wanted to get in touch with you guys. I sent the email out a while back, but I never got a response back. But, just listening on the thing that you guys get a lot of emails, so probably couldn't get back to me. So I just moved from New Jersey. I'm in PA.
Okay.
So I was interested in probably getting with the PA. And I know you guys got a lot going on with the whole PA thing and all of that. So I'm definitely looking to get in touch with you guys to be a part of the body and all that. So
okay.
Indeed. As far as preparation, like I said, I just got the information. So I literally just started doing the prep. And
all right.
Like, man, you
go ahead. I'm listening.
Been talking about this before anyway. So,
yeah. Well, brother,
so I'm just saying, you guys been talking about this preparation from before.
Yeah.
So
it's one thing about talking about it, brother.
Like,
it's another thing putting it into action. You understand? And that's the whole deal. The Holy Spirit through Christ have given us the understanding to go out, teach the ministry and preparation to come. It's one thing to talk about being an Israelite, talking about slave ships, talking about what somebody did to us. It's another thing getting over all that and preparing, regardless of what happened to us and who did it to us. It's not going to help us get through these times, okay? We have to now use the next level of this understanding in preparation for what's to come concerning this engagement, okay? Jacob all over the earth is being terrorized and is about to be engaged by the Roman government again. And this is not, even though we're speaking about America in particular, this is an international plan, okay, to exterminate the children of Jacob from the face of the earth, okay? So that's, you understand? So I'm gonna put you on hold. I'll call you. I got your number. I'll call you, okay? I'll call you. We'll discuss this.
All right, appreciate it, brother, man.
You're welcome.
All right.
So the ministry is also preparation. There's going to be 3.5 years of plenteous in which we can prepare, and then it's going to be a famine. We're going to be engaged for the last few years before the coming of Christ, folks. And we have entered into that time. Okay, who do we have here? Sister Georgia, 404 area code. We have about 9 more minutes. If it cut off, we're still going to take calls. Don't worry about it. You have 9 minutes to call in if you would like to speak on this specific topic. 515-605-9327. Sister Georgia. Shalom, Sister Georgia.
Shalom. Shalom, how are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia. Talk to me.
Likewise. My question is regarding, at what point will people be allowed to defend themselves in these times that are to come? It's one of my main concerns at this point, because the statutes and commandments say not to kill, and thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. So at what point do you engage to protect yourself, your family? You know, I'm just wondering.
When your life is threatened. Because when the Bible says thou shalt not kill, that's speaking of unjust murder. You are justified in defending yourself. If someone is assailing you and is attempting to take your life, you are justified in defending yourself. Hopefully you can get out of the scenario without any bodily harm happening to either of you. But if there's a choice between the assailer and you should choose life. I'll put it that way. Okay.
What about things like theft? Like if someone steals from you, or in worst case scenarios, children are very vulnerable. Some molestation, rape. Anytime things like this happen, these things are to hide. So, like, what do people do in those kind of circumstances?
Well, some of that I would have to say we have to talk offline with that. But I can say that only thing I can say is, there's certain things that you can't speak publicly about. But hey, I would feel for a brother or sister who would try to molest my child if I had a child. I would have to pray for their scenario. And I'm saying that loosely. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me put you on hold. All right. 205 area code. And I don't even know. It is not funny because that's one of the greatest, I would say, to some degree, one of the greatest pearls, or I would say one of the greatest weapons morally that are used against our society is our children being compromised before they had an opportunity to really experience life and understand life. That's a warfare on an entirely different level, the molestation that goes on rampant in our community. And I'll tell you this, it's even more rampant than I could have ever imagined. Okay. And that's a systematic weapon against family that have been an epidemic amongst our people since our existence here in America. And we're going to have a show on that. You'll be surprised how many brothers and sisters are holding within themselves things that have happened to them as children. That also feeds into the systematic destruction and demoralization of a people. But we're going to have a show on that independent from this. We'll probably do that next week. All right. Who we have here? Who that? Brother Al? Brother Al? Brother Eric from Alabama. Okay. And then we have Brother Josh. The moral and spiritual fall of Babylon.
How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed by the best. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. Talk to me.
Yeah, I've been following you, brother. I think you guys doing a great job. My brother even been following you for a longer period of time, and he's the one who got me turned on to you guys. But I think you guys are doing a great job. And the downfall of 9/11, from my point of view, from years ago, I think that was orchestrated by powers to be. And I guess my question to you would be: is there anywhere safe in this world for our people with the end times coming?
Well, it depends on it depends on what you mean by safe. It depends on what you mean. Like for instance, the pearls, according to Second Baruch, the pearls are going to, the whole world will experience the pearls to come. But I'll tell you what, any place is more safe than America would be when this war happens.
I guess I was just thinking more so from a husband and a father standpoint. I'm more concerned about, when it does, he's a fan. Being a husband and a father, I'm more concerned about the family than, my siblings. So,
you know what?
I was just wondering.
That is a good question, brother. Where do you live right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama, okay. And I think we're going to set up a church there soon. You're not too far from a place where we're going to set up a church. Well, it's like this, brother.
Outstanding.
Okay, it's like this, brother. Can you turn off whatever's playing in the background is distracting my thought here?
Let me step outside. I'm doing a little side job.
Okay.
Hope it'll be better.
Okay.
I'm walking outside now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm outside.
No, what I'll say first is get with our
better.
Okay, you can get with our church, which will be in Alabama soon, and I'm going to place you on hold because there's a lot of things going on there. I'm sorry, I would like to, but I'll answer you offline, Eric. Okay. All right. It's dog screaming and everything. I'm trying to break this down. It's like this. First and foremost, get with people of like mind. Okay, because this world is more so teaching individualism and I don't need no one. I'm better off by myself. Well, that's a systematic tactic to have you alone so that there's no defense upon engagement. Individuals are going to be destroyed. That's first and foremost. So it's best to have a stronghold, have a support system, people who you are with in like mind, spiritually and otherwise. And you should have it that way anyway with children. Okay, if you have a family. So I'm not speaking anything foreign here. The second thing, with a trusted church body, then have a plan with your family originally outside of everyone else. Because why? Where will the church be when it happens? Okay, the church is a support system, but you have to keep in mind that these things are going
90 seconds.
These things will affect individual houses first. So you have the church level support, then you have the in-house support. So you need to talk with your family and say, well, okay, in an emergency, how will we come together in the midst of an emergency, us being spread across the place? Have that discussion with your children. Where to meet, what to do, all of that. Sit around the table.
Seconds.
Hold up. Sit around the table with your family. Have to put away the phones for a second or the computers for a second and say, listen to me clearly. If something ever happens, here's the steps we'll take towards safety. Do that on a family level. Okay. And Christ says, listen, when you're persecuted in one city, flee into the next. So keep in mind that you have to have some type of connection or relation with someone, family member or church member, on the outside of your state or city in case you need refuge for a time someplace else. And that's within the United States itself. And the overall objective is to be able to travel outside the country.
10 seconds.
Okay. And understand how life is in the old world. Understand how life is in the same regions the Bible say will be intact upon the coming of our Christ, our Messiah. Look at Isaiah the 11th chapter, and it tells you that it gives us the landscape or geography of places which will still be intact upon the coming of Christ. So you plan some trips with your family to at least understand how life is outside of our captive parameters. Okay. Now, of course, there's many other things I can discuss or say, but for the sake of time, we can start there. But I'll tell you what, you're going to be in our church, so you'll hear more anyway. 604 area, no, 404. Now, who's next here? Brother Josh from Pennsylvania. Shalom, Josh. You're live on Blog Talk.
I was just seeing if you guys could take my number down and call me after the broadcast or maybe tomorrow so I can get in contact with the elders in my area.
And what's your area, Josh?
Fayette County, Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania.
Okay. And this is your number on Blog Talk here, right? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We'll call you tomorrow. All right.
Thank
you.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for calling. Hold on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to the next call. Our topic of this.
Okay,
I think you cut him off here. I cut him off. Sorry. All right, Josh.
All right.
All right, Josh.
Yeah, I just wanted to say. Okay, thank you for bringing me back. And I just wanted to say that it's a shame how the devil is doing you shy as people, and you're not going to win, Lucifer. You're not going to win. The demons are not going to win, and you're going to be in hell. And the people that's running the world powers, you need to come to Christ. And he is a black man, and you need to stop being so racist and just come to Christ and repent and be baptized and follow the law, and you can go to heaven too. I know you're listening to this, and you just need to come to Christ, and that's all I want to say.
All right. Thank you, Brother Josh. Great points. Let me hold tight. Okay, next, 773 area code, then the 404 area code, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. You're live with the Gathered of Christ Church.
Shalom.
Shalom, talk to me.
Shalom, y'all. May the Most High bless you. I just have a question. I want to know, how do I go about getting a guest on the show?
What guest would you like on the show?
Minister Kevin L.A. Ewing.
And what interests you about him? What makes you think that it would be an interesting discussion with him?
Well, he's a minister that follows the law. He's out of Grand Bahama, and he teaches mostly about prophetic, dreams, generational curses, how everything applies to the law. And I think it'd be very, very interesting to have him on the show. He has a lot of insight, and just to be interviewed, like not a debate or anything. But he has some videos on YouTube and Facebook, and the brother is really, really in tune. He follows the law and everything.
Okay, what is his name again?
It's Minister Kevin L.A. Ewing.
Okay, I'll look into it, and I'll tell you what. I have your number. Let me have your name again.
Layla.
Your name? Layla?
Layla.
Okay, Layla.
In Chicago.
Okay, in Chicago. Okay, Layla, we'll call you and see if we can set it up. Don't mind having a few guests. We're going to move towards that anyway. All right. Thank you for calling. I'll place you on hold, okay?
What?
All right, in the bar. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, next call. Live with the Gathering of Christ Church. We have 404 area code. After that, 801. Shalom, you're live on Blog Talk or YouTube or wherever we are. The world.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, talk to me.
Yes, Elder. It's great point, great topic tonight. First of all, let me just say all praises be to the Most High in the name of Ahia. I was actually talking about this to one of my clients today, and he actually gave me a book because I'm just now coming into this truth a couple months back and listening to you guys in the West Atlanta metro area. And I don't know if you guys heard today, but there was an earthquake today in Tennessee that was felt in the metro Atlanta area. And things are just starting to get crazy. So, you know, I've been listening to you guys, following, coming into this truth, getting resistance from all of my family members who are Christian followers. You know, I'm aligning my household up, but it's just like, man, what can we do at this point? And, you know, I'm grabbing a hold of this Bible and this knowledge, and I'm just leading my family, you know, according to, you know, the word.
That's right.
And, you know, those are just my thoughts, elders. You know, my wife and I, like I said, we just registered for the Hebrew and Bible Academy because she's coming into this awakening too.
Thank you.
So, you know, we have a house that, you know, on one accord now. We both have this understanding, and you know, we're not vaccinating our kids anymore. And you wouldn't believe the, you know, the comments and the, you know, the way that our family members have treated us because of, you know, such decisions, you know, of not participating in holidays. You know, it's been a big change. And elders, I just want to say thank you guys for everything that you're doing. Just keep putting out this knowledge. I just want to connect with you guys. I've already reached out. I have the address for the Atlanta area.
Okay.
I will be gathering me and my family as well.
Oh, that's a blessing.
If you guys could just take my number and contact me outside, because there's more that I want to talk about that I can't really talk about over the broadcast. Because I was also prior Air Force that worked in a certain government agency. So the way that I look at this world now is totally, it's very different. But the book that the brother passed to me today was the Valley of the Dry Bones by Rudolph Windsor. And I think it's a great book because it's a great time. Our people are walking around in such a desolate and docile state that, like you guys are saying, we don't even know that a slaughter is being prepared. And, you know, with me being, you know, former Air Force military police, I understand the types of jurisdiction in this country that goes on. And when martial law is declared in a place, the military can come in at a moment's notice by an executive order by being dropped. And now you have, like you guys were saying, your streets being patrolled with military to restore order. So we're not far off from that. And that's what's so frightening. And our people are walking around like they don't have a clue what's going on. So I just want to say thank you, elders. I'm done.
Well, thank you, brother. Let me have your name. I'll call you.
Charmis.
You said Charmis?
Charmis? All right.
Yes, sir. CHARMAS.
I got you. All right, Charmis. We'll call you soon. All right. Yeah. And I want to say a lot. I hear this time of year, from year to year, I hear the same concerning people who have found the truth and become ostracized or outcast by those of their family who claim to be Christian. I have one question to ask based on that for Christians. Is that Christian-like? Is that Christian-like? If your family member choose to follow Christ according to the Bible and denounce pagan holidays that actually, believe it or not, minimize Christ's power and truth. Keep in mind, these pagan holidays are overshadowing Christ's true purpose and mission. You have a family member who come to the knowledge of Christ and denounce Sunday worship because the Lord never said, remember the first day of the week and keep it holy. They denounce Christianity in its pagan form, and you as a response don't turn the other cheek. On the other hand, what you do is ostracize and make your family member, someone you love, an outcast at the what you would think or what you claim to be the most joyous and spiritual time of the year. Is that Christ-like? Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I'm not a child of Christ. Doesn't mean you can treat me or ostracize me. But guess what? That's a sign in itself. Christ says, think not that I've come to send peace on earth, but a sword. Okay. He's come to lay variances between the father and the mother, the daughter and the mother. Why? Because you have the mother and father stuck in a generational curse following paganism, and the children are waking up. And through the mouth of babes, Christ will speak to his people. But guess what? The parents aren't listening. Is that Christ-like to ostracize or to cast off your own family member because they come to the knowledge of the truth? Think about that sometimes, you so-called Christians. Would Christ do that? Anything else you got there, Lawya?
No, sir.
All right, let me go down the line here. 801 area code. Shalom, you're live.
Good afternoon, Elder Shalom.
Shalom. And I'm gonna bring you
yes,
in.
Sir. I just wanted to
hold up. I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna say this though. I'm saying that because why? I have family members and all that still follow paganism and still do those things. Okay, but they still my family. I'm not going to cut them off and ostracize them and not invite them to my house because they haven't awakened yet. I'm going to still treat them like Christ said for me to treat them. And when the time comes, when the spirit opens, they'll be more so open to hear what I have to say, because why? I'm showing forth the fruits of the spirit. I'm not judging them or coming down on them because they don't believe as I believe. I'm still their family. Okay, that's what Christ would have liked. He sat amongst the publicans and sinners and those that weren't doing right. He still came for them. So there's a lot of hypocrisy going on within the Christian faith, who claim to be there for all people and be there and have their door open even for the sinners and unbelievers and those who don't believe exactly as they believe. That's hypocrisy. Go on, talk to me.
Yes, sir. One thing I would like to say is, again, the church is doing a wonderful job spreading this truth. This is definitely not something new that you guys have brought out. I've been listening to you for quite some time. A baptized member, 2.5 years, going on 3, my wife as well. And I had the privilege of meeting you also on the day I was baptized a few years ago in Georgia.
Praise the
Most
Most High.
visit down there and kind of got certain things sorted out. So I had the pleasure of meeting you last, heading out the door there. So, but yeah, I want to say we moved from Georgia there, and we're actually in Utah right now. So we're not within, the proximity of an immediate body. We did make connection with the Arizona location where my wife got baptized a year ago now, almost a year ago now, yeah. And, we're just wanting to see if that would be our immediate go-to when this thing goes down here.
Okay, that is a good question. Right now we had Elder Rawchaa relocate for a specific time for the West Coast. So yes, we're going to also have something in Utah soon, in which you'll be able to gather there also. Okay. And it won't be too long before.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. But in the meantime, just hold tight and just connect with our online West Coast body until we have a gathering in your specific area. Okay.
Okay, understood.
All right.
Understood.
But we have you in mind. We have Utah in mind. This year is going to be one of the most fruitful years of the church, because we need to go throughout. We have to teach it on the streets, gather, set up in all these cities before it's time, because we have to go back to the east. We have brothers in the east, back in different areas outside the country. We're going back there. We soon after we do our work here, we're going to go back to where our brothers and sisters are relocated, and we have brothers on the outskirts of this country, on the other side of the world, who's making preparation for people, for brothers and sisters who need a place once this place is dealt with according to prophecy. So this is going to be the year. Don't worry about it. If you don't have a location, you will see the Gathering of Christ Church in your proximity. That's the work. We have broken it down. That's why we've set up a central temporal location for the United States to deal with this year like we've never done before. Broke down the country and region so that we can have representation every place throughout the United States before it's time. And this is going to be the year we'll do it. It's a temporal, we can have a place, a headquarters, so that we can concentrate on helping our people. Because why? The lions of Judah is within the United States too. And there's certain prophets and teachers and serious spiritual sisters that the Most High would like to bring forth in this body to help the work beyond Babylon. And the Most High have shown us that we have to mobilize and grab these people that belongs to the Most High for the next stage in this ministry. So don't worry about it, brother. Don't worry about it. We'll soon be there. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise the Most High. Thank you so much for your work. And again, you know, I just one last point before you let me go. My cousin just passed away last Friday here. God bless her little soul. She was just 13, 14 years old, and she was going through some cancer situations, and they got her on that chemo. And you know, as soon as they said they were going to do that, my heart really felt, because I already knew what was going to happen at the end of that. And it was just so hard talking to the family members regarding that, because they're not saved and they're not in the truth. So I felt kind of out of place making those type of suggestions with people that weren't really in the know or in the truth to really understand what I would be saying to them. So my mom also had gone through a breast cancer recently. And unfortunately with that situation, she had to remove one of her breasts. But luckily enough, she's one that's listening. And she also recently came into the truth as well down there in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Okay. Met Elder Rawchaa the other day, which was awesome. And she's also moved off of the chemo. I told her, I begged her, plead with her, tell her, get off of that thing, it's going to kill you. So, right now she's off of it. She's going through the herbal treatments now and getting herself back around. So, this truth is doing a lot for people, and I'm spreading the word every chance I get with, my immediate family as much as I can. Good. And, when I have the time, I'm going to try to do more in regards to that. But, some people are definitely blessed with that spirit, as you are, with gathering, people such as myself. And some people, the Most High may not bless them with, the way you're able to speak with people and gather people in such way. I may not have that particular blessing, but I try to do the best within, the scope of my realm here with, immediate family, and try to do my best with those around me, and lead by example by showing them the way I'm living, and the way I'm following this truth, and, just trying to take my time with everyone that I come around with, trying to bring them into the truth as well as best as I can. So your work is definitely not going unseen and unheard. We hear you. You're definitely you are the one that really brought me into this. And I remember hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes listening to your videos just nonstop, going through it, glued to my computer. And there's nothing like it. Nothing like it, Elder. And thank you so much. I thank the Most High for you, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, my brother. And guess what?
I see you too, Elder Lawya.
Okay. And your prayers go a long way. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Your prayers do go a long way. And I want to say this. It's a shame. It's disheartening to hear what happens to our brothers and sisters who are duped or through fear into chemotherapy. It hurts me to hear that our people going on that garbage, because the data doesn't lie. It's a death sentence. Okay. It's a death sentence. The Most High in Christ would never allow his people to be pumped with deadly chemicals as a cure. That's not medicine. It's a shame. Can't you see that's part of the depopulation program? Can't you see that that's part of they tell you, well, I'll tell you what, you must go on chemo, and they'll fear you into this, saying, or at least, or you'll be dead in less than 5 years. You go on chemo, you're dead in 6 months. 2 months, 3 months. Right. Look at the results, but they use fear. They separate, and it's a shame, because you have people like myself and others talk to their family about it, and the first thing your family will look at you and say, well, listen, you're not a doctor. That's what the doctor said. And I love mom, and I love them, and I love this. And they'll sit there, and you'll look at them at the funeral. They'll be the same ones sitting there talking about how great this person was and all that at the funeral, not even putting 2 and 2 together, that it was their decision that led to your family member now in a box. now in a box because you didn't stand with the Most High opposed to modern medicine. It's a shame every time I hear this. Every time I hear this crap about chemotherapy. Do the research on chemotherapy and know what it is. It's in the doctor's interest to do it because they pay for the chemicals $5,000, and but the insurance pay them $15,000 for each treatment. That's what it's about. It's like flipping a drug pack in the hood. They're flipping chemicals. It gets me upset because they're preying on these elderly people, and these elderly people are fearful, and they play on the fear of the family and the ignorance of the family. It's a shame.
Right. And the key point, letting you in, and we've mentioned this millions of times, it's not the cancer, the so-called cancer that have the people looking sick and frail. It's always the chemotherapy that diminishes the, what would you call it? The, diminishes the life expectancy and the strength that they have in their old age. They never die from the cancer. They always die from the chemotherapy.
Yes. So I just pray that this information fall upon some of the brothers and sisters out there and realize that there's an agenda against us, which leads to almost the end of our show, or the topic itself, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Anytime your cure is pumping poison through people, if that's not a sign, what is? If that's not a sign of the end of times, what is? Where you will use a pack of chemicals, poisonous chemicals, as a remedy for sickness. And I see so many people, the doctors will claim they need to go on dialysis and all that, or have diabetes and go on insulin. These are all, brothers and sisters, just what you would call human euthanasia. Euthanasia. That's all it is. It's you being put down medically, slowly, and not realizing it. That's all it is. You go on one of those dialysis machines, and guess what? Your kidneys are going to stop working altogether. The little was working is going to stop, and you're going to be dependent on the machine. Eventually, you're going to die off. Same thing with insulin. You take that insulin, eventually, it's going to do what? Destroy all the veins in your body, make it stop your circulation, make it where they'll get paid on your way out by hacking you up and sawing things off. Then you're in a box. Diabetes is Dr. Frankenstein's dream. It's a dream by these stinking scientists to not only kill you, but get paid on the way out, on your way out, to get paid off of you on your way out. The moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Anytime they can do this crap and call it medicine, if that's not the sign of the end, I don't know what is. Next, we only have a few more calls, right? Who we have here? 404, two more, right? Then 805. You're live with the Gathered of Christ Church.
Shalom.
Shalom, talk to me.
Shalom. Elder Gabar, Elder Rawchaa, Elder Lawya, how y'all doing? And it's been a minute, it's been a while since I heard from you guys. So I've been listening almost every week. But anyway, I just wanted to see if you heard anything about the FEMA birds that they've been putting the so-called migrants in, and it had lost, and went over at sea. There was an article that came out, and it was saying something about the a lot of the migrants that come over across the border, they put them in the villages and so-called FEMA camps, and they pretty much killing them off. I'm trying to see if you heard anything about that.
I didn't hear about the killing part, but I heard about the barges they're putting them in, and manning these FEMA camps with these so-called refugees. I know about that. I don't know about anyone being killed off, but I know that these internment camps, these what they call FEMA camps or detention centers, are now manned by so-called refugees. And in the midst of an emergency, I got to put you on hold. There's a lot of noise there, okay?
All right.
Okay. And in the midst of an emergency, brothers and sisters, keep in mind, in the midst of an emergency, they will be placing people in these detention centers. And that's what the brother is speaking about right now. It's what we spoke about years ago, the FEMA camps. Okay. Now it's deep in itself because at one point, Alex Jones was telling the truth concerning all that and was putting it out there in advance, well before many people was actually talking about it. Okay. Matter of fact, I wouldn't say that because I didn't find out about Alex Jones until we were on YouTube. And we would talk about FEMA camps and all that on the streets before we were placed on YouTube. But it was Alex Jones who began to speak about these things on YouTube and make it, make it more so viral throughout the YouTube world. But they did that on purpose. They had him speak of a lot of things predictively, knowing that they was going to use him to do what? You got it. Discredit all the truth he brought forth initially. See, he was their distraction, or what you would call control opposition. Now, some people say that he wasn't always compromised or whatever. I don't know. I know what I see now, and based on what I see now, it's totally understood what he was placed in there for, because he was talking about FEMA camps, internment centers. Him and the other guy, the so-called wrestler, Jesse Ventura, whatever the case is. And what they were talking about is true. But most people have fallen asleep and believe, just because no one is speaking about it online, that those particular military camps and FEMA prisons, now because no one is speaking of it, out of sight, out of mind, they no longer exist. But guess what? They're being filled as we speak by refugees, immigrant refugees, and soon American refugees. Watch out. Look this up yourself, folks. Look this up yourself. Department of Homeland Security preparing for an EMP. They're preparing for the United States to be without electricity for a maximum of 6 months. During that period, they'll be disarming and engaging what they would call the enemies of the state. And guess what? If there's no electricity, the engagement will not be televised. Our saving grace in the hood and other places, the fact that now when the cops pull us over, or whatever, when someone is in our presence, it's filmed. But an EMP is going to take care of all that. Okay? If there's no electricity and they can do an electronic pulse and knock off your phones, guess what? There's no witnesses. What are we doing to protect ourselves for such a time? It's coming. 805 area code. You're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. We only got a few more calls before the end of the program. Of course, we'll pick this up next week. Same place, same channel. Talk to us.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. Talk to me, sister.
I have 2 questions. I need prayer. I'm in a lot of pain. And also, I need you to call me about something serious that's going on. So I want to know if you could take my number and call me.
Okay. Let me have your name, sister.
Sister Eleanor.
You said you having pain. What's going on with the pain? What is it? What's going on?
I was in a car accident,
Okay.
and it happened like three years ago in San Diego, but I'm still having that pain. I go to bed with it and I wake up with it, and it's in my neck, and I'm having weird pains all through my body, like when I walk and everything.
Okay, let me ask you real quick, sister, because I've spoken to a few people who have gone through what you're going through and had certain immediate impact trauma. Have you ever went to a chiropractor before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they weren't able to help you?
No.
Okay, is that bad? How old are you?
58.
58. Okay. Well, this is what I'll do, sister. I have your number here, and you're on the West Coast?
Yes, Southern California.
Okay, we have Elder Rawchaa there. We'll call you, do some prayer for you, and see what else we can help you with. Of course, we have herbologists and others that work with the church that can help in certain circumstances. Okay, all right. Like there's many members of the body, but there's many members of Christ's body, right? And it so happened that as the ministry has grown, there's parts of the body that's beyond my expertise, but we have those experts within the body itself. So I can refer you to someone in the church, trusted herbologist who can help you, and see we can see if with that on top of prayer, whether or not the Most High can give you some relief through this pain. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The water.
In the bar. So we'll have the herbologist call you and see what we can do. Okay. Shalom, sister. I'm gonna place you on hold.
Shalom. Shalom.
Okay. I hate leaving because some of these shows I can do it all night, but we have a few more calls. I'll take these calls and then I'll give y'all the last word. If God is on, he can say something. I don't know if Elder Gabar is with us. Okay, 985 area code. Shalom. You're live with the Gathered of Christ Church.
Shalom.
Talk to me.
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Talk to me.
Okay. I hear everybody talking about this wall by Mexico, but I don't think people are paying attention on in Business Insider. They have not Mexico, New York City, they're planning on building a wall around Manhattan, a $1 billion wall.
I heard about that. It would make perfect sense.
I just wanted to, that's I just wanted to bring that out, bring that out real quick, to give everybody a heads up. That's pretty much what I called about.
Okay. Well, the best thing we can do is what? Abstain from sin, come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, gather together under one spirit, and prepare for what I would call a Babylonian bounce, to get up out of here and to operate outside of Babylon, because anyone who knows anything are actually making plans on the outside of this country. It's as if all the corporations has already moved offshore in preparation for what's to come. All the jobs, when you call on the phone, whether it be telemarketing or whatever, there's someone foreign answering the phone. All the jobs and everything has gone outside of the country. So obviously the people within the country are expendable. What are they going to do with what they call useless eaters? People who when they realize what's really going on, will actually revolt, and the American, the country will have a mutiny on its hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, here we go. Here we go. It's time. Let's follow the law, statutes, commandments. Come together. All right. Let's go. I bet you somebody's going to make a song out of that now. But anyway, all right. One last call before the broadcast ends. 406 area code. Shalom, you're live with the Gathering of Christ Church. How are you? Last call for this evening. No? Silence? Dang. Tell you what, it's been a good broadcast. Hopefully, brothers and sisters have been made aware and begin some preparation and have discussions concerning what's to come. Not get distracted through the American news propaganda, which is actually in place to keep us distracted. A lot of people are talking about whether or not Kevin Hart is going to host some, I think
it's the Oscars.
The Oscars in the midst of a bunch of freaks and pedophiles.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Freaks, pedophiles, rapists, killers, perverts. Who cares? I hear everybody talking about it's a black thing. Listen. This thing is done. We need to more so focus on what they're teaching our children right now. That's demoralizing this generation to come. And that's what I'm going to talk about next week. Next week, we're going to go into the real reason for the LBGT movement. The real reason for the LBGT movement, they're used as a weapon against all that's right. Okay? That's what the LBGT movement is, brothers and sisters. It's an actual psyop to divide civilizations. It's a psyop, folks. It's also going to be used. It's being used to destroy us inwardly. And their focus is no longer the generation who know exactly who they are. Their focus are the children. I'm going to go into that. And I know a lot of us don't want to talk about sex and this, that, and the other. Guess what? They're talking about sex with our kindergartens before we have an opportunity to actually talk to our children about anything.
Right.
They're already there, prepping your child. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Next week, we're going to go into it. The real reason for the LBGT movement. And how that aligns with our topic also, the moral and spiritual fall of Babylon. Okay. And also, we're going to have a few guests on that's going to come on the show who were once dealing with that behavior to let everyone know how they really came into inordinate affection before Christ came into their lives. What really drove that spirit? They weren't born that way. We're going to have guests come on next week. The real reason for the LBGT movement. Okay. And we're going to have guests come on and give you their testimonies of what really happened to them as children and how they were driven to actually act out their perversions. Okay. How they were driven to actually act it out. Okay. We're going to go into that next week itself. Be ready for next week's broadcast. Anyway, anything you have to say before we wrap up, Elder Lawya?
Yes, sir. I'm going to close out with the scripture in the book of 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 4. It says, whereby are given unto us exceeding and great promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And we've talked about the corruption that's in this world throughout the broadcast. And because of the corruption, destruction has come into this world, beginning with Babylon. Verse 5 says, and beside this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord, Yeshua the Anointed. But he that lacketh these things is blind and cannot see afar off, and have forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Verse 10, wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, ye shall never fail. For so an entrance shall be ministered unto you abundantly in the everlasting kingdom of our Lord and Savior, Yeshua the Anointed. So, in other words, in short, above all things, as we prepare physically, we must also prepare ourselves spiritually for the times to come. And with that, I'll say shalom.
Exactly. I want to say shalom, and I thank you all for your support. And please continue to support the Gathering of Christ Church. We're here. We're on the proverbial wall, watching for the Most High, sounding the trumpet, and we're saying to everyone everywhere, to Israel first and also the Gentiles, come back to the Most High God. His name is Ahiah. His son name is Yeshaya. And you know what? Soon we'll all see Zion.
That's right.
Talk to me, Gaja. Any words before we end the broadcast?
Yes, sir. Just I mean, powerful broadcast again as usual. So all praises to the Most High for giving us this opportunity again, to be here. And I just got back from Australia. I want to say a massive shout out and thanks to all the brethren in the South Pacific Isles down there who made the trip very welcoming. You with me, the officers down there, it's like it's so good, and to see the church grow from where it was 3 years ago to now, man. Enough respect and love, man, to the brethren there. You understand, our Deacon Amory. You understand, a big shout out to him, his parents, senior Elder Amory. You with me, and how they have the whole thing down there structured, man. It's really a blessing, to see it, man. And thank you again for having me, and I hope to see you all very soon again. And I just I said it then, and I'm humbled just being able to go through these areas and see the people and see the work, man. So all praises to the Most High, and a wider shout out to everybody, and thanks to everybody that helped to make these trips possible. So peace and love to everybody, man. Until we meet again.
Until we meet again. And I'll tell you, I'll see you soon, hopefully. I know you're recovering from the Australia trip. How did the debate go? I heard the so-called debate with the Christians went pretty well.
Yeah, it did. It was good, man. It was really good. Everybody's asking for another one. I mean, I said to the brethren that these debates, we aren't the first to do them. You understand? They've done before, but I mean, we're bringing it from the perspective of truth, and we hope that we pray that it reaches the Most High's people who are in need of the law, who are in need to come back, to abstain from sin.
Yeah.
You understand? I mean, we have a Christian pastor telling us that the law is done away with. I mean, we can't.
Well, I'll tell you
that no more. You understand?
Well, I'll tell you it. Send it to me, and I'll upload it on the page soon. Just give me the link. I'll upload it, or I'll ask AC to upload it for me. And the other thing is, I know they want to do it again, so I may fly over there for the next situation and sit down with them. My whole thing is, like I said to you before, about they keep saying the law is done away with, these Gentiles. And my answer to this is, the law was always done away with for you. You never received the law. So this debate is futile. Okay? It was our breaking the law that led to you being in a position to tell us we shouldn't follow it. It was us breaking the law. So I can understand why you're saying the law is done away with. It's giving you power to sit here and speak to us. Okay. But did Christ break the law? Did the disciples break the law? So I'm going to follow them. Who in the HELL is you? Okay. That's what I tell these Gentiles who talk about the law is done away with. You never had the law. What are you talking about? Now, either if you're going to be a Gentile, you need to learn the law before you talk about it being done away with. You should see the fruits of actually understanding the fruits of actually following it. The fruits of following it is actually a world, a better world outside of this sin we call Babylon. I can see here's the end result of not following the law. Look around. So don't come to me with that the law is done away with crap. It's clear the law is done away with. When you go outside your house and have to pray to the Father to get back with shots being flown all over the place and people not having no food and people starving in an evil world, it's clear the law is done away with. Because you people have done away with it, but God haven't. So let me tell you right now, we're going to spiritually, with the Bible, we're going to biblically smoke these so-called Christian Gentiles who have our people. Okay, we're going to smoke them with the Bible. Here's our sword. who have our people in the stronghold, because you got a Gentile standing up there with the Bible and the churches are filled with us. What's wrong with that? You mean to tell me there's no one more spiritual than this guy? What makes him more spiritual than all these black people sitting here? What's wrong with this picture? These guys have Caesar Borgia complexes. You can't learn anything unless it's from Massa. Guess what? The servants of God are breaking your spiritual psychosis. The Gathering of Christ Church. Anything else?
Yeah, that's it, man, and just looking forward to linking up back with you soon, man. So
yeah, I can't wait to see you, man. But get some rest. You really have to recover. I understand that it's 24-hour trip from Australia, and when I go to Australia, I'm gonna do it the other way. I'll go into California, then Hawaii. I'll stay there for a day or two, then fly into Australia. I'm not doing no 24-hour trip. That on a plane. I'm like, sometimes when I'm in, I'll be praying to the Father if I'm on a plane for 1 hour. But anyway, thank you, brother. Great work. Great work. May the Most High be with you. All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh man, we got a rock follower in our chat. Lord have mercy. A rock follower. What will they come up with next? Tell me you got to make Hajj to go see a rock. There's some rocks around here. Shalom. Stay strong. May the Most High be with you.
Shalom.
Boy. Idolaters. The idolaters. We'll soon see Zion. Stay strong. To Zion. I was lost, but now I'm found.